There's one pattern on this chart that we are producing right now, which I'm giving a lot of weight to. I don't want to be buying hopium. I don't want to be peddling that kind of stuff. But I have seen something which we've done before. We've done during actually this kind of the previous bull market, because it's pretty much over now, and it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense, and I need to break this down for you. I need your full attention for this. Now, before we get into this, I really am very hyped about this. If you are too, if my hype is a little bit contagious for you, do me a favor and just smash up the likes on this video. Make sure you are subscribed as well. I don't want to waste any time though. This all comes down to this amazing profile on Twitter, 𝗪𝗘𝗙𝗜𝗔𝗍. This person actually pointing out a Wyckoff accumulation pattern on the daily chart, which we're potentially producing. I've blown up this chart over here so you can see it a little bit better. But before we get to it, I want to give you a little bit of background on this, because you might not actually know what a Wyckoff accumulation pattern even is. And this is essentially one of the, I would say fairly typical patterns that Bitcoin actually tends to produce in this market in order to tell us where potential market tops and bottoms are. The last time that we actually used this quite well on the accumulation side, so basically meaning something that's bullish where the market breaks up, was actually right here. And we followed this Wyckoff pattern very, very well. I've got the distribution pattern, which is kind of the same but in inverse. But if you guys were around back here, this is only in the middle of last year, you probably would remember the Wyckoff accumulation stuff, because I was talking about it and many other people online were as well, because that's what the market did. It's a very, very typical pattern. It's a lot of people will put this down to market manipulation, but you guys, if you've been watching me for a while, probably get the picture by now. I don't like to just point my finger straight at manipulation every time something doesn't make sense to me, because I actually think it's quite foolish. It's almost as ridiculous as people that, like back in the day when science wasn't really a thing. If someone got a cold, they'd be like, God is punishing you. And like, no, not really. You just got a bug. Obviously they just didn't know it. And so they jump to what they can understand, which is religion. And a lot of people do that with manipulation in the markets as well. But I think this is just the market playing out. We're getting these deviations where we set a high and then we break a little bit higher, but then we come back down, and it's your typical kind of very bearish, just it's the market trying to break out and then failing. It's a fake out, and then we fake out to the downside, in this case meaning that we sweep our prior low at 17.5, potentially drop down to 17, whatever, and then we come back up again, showing us that the market is trying to break out, but it's just not ready, and so it gets locked into a range. Does this sound familiar, ladies and gents? Until eventually what ends up happening is that the market, for the most part, has traded in this case, two broad areas right here. The first one stretching between 34 and 39. Again, if you guys were around back then, you're going to remember what I was saying about this stuff. And the second range stretching pretty much just between 32 and 35, right? So very, very important stuff here, because this ended up giving us a rise up. But it's not even this. We ended up doing the similar kind of thing with our distribution. This is the distribution schematic. Same thing, just basically, like I said, in reverse. I can't paint this over the current chart, but just take a look at what ends up happening over here, and to me it looks very, very similar. I mean, we've got our first peak, bam, we get our second peak, what am I doing, slightly higher, bam, and then we get our third peak, which is a real deviation from everything, bam, right here. That's our third peak, and then we end up kind of falling lower, which is exactly what ended up happening. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's pretty close, and that's the reason I'm quite excited by seeing the same thing happen right now, because we're already forming it. I mean, it happens in similar ways every time. It's basically, it's all about deviations. It's all about, we've got this range that's broadly been defined, and actually the range probably would stretch all the way down here, and we're just swinging above it, we're swinging below it, we're getting fake outs, and for the most part we're just staying in this range until eventually we get really bad, and then bam, we get the lift off, which again, what I've just painted is very, very similar to what happened last time. And I think that's important, because this sell-off we're looking at now is actually kind of similar to this one in a lot of ways. I mean, you're coming off some substantial price levels, just basically with a huge waterfall sell-off, which is again kind of what we saw right here, a huge waterfall sell-off, and before that another huge waterfall sell-off. I mean, there's a lot of similarities here, ladies and gents. If you're seeing what I'm seeing, do me a favor once more and just make sure you have smashed up those likes and all that good stuff as well, because to me this is really, really exciting, and I'm super happy to be here to talk about it. Again, I just want to make sure that I'm giving good credit to 𝗪𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗖𝗓. I wouldn't have seen this without him. So, this is all down to him. Go give him a follow on Twitter. I follow him as well. Yeah, this showing me something very, very powerful for the market, because we're already, I mean, we've already kind of fallen down to, roughly here on this chart, which I just find so interesting, potentially indicating that we can swing low. And the thing is, with this next leg, what that would mean is that we do just kind of keep moving lower now, potentially dipping just below that prior swing low, like I said, at 17.5. Now, you guys know my thoughts. My thoughts with my own just kind of normal analysis is that, if we lose this low, we're going much lower because there's just no support. However, it seems like every time we kind of dip below 20, sentiment gets really, really bearish. I'm actually curious, where is the fear and greed index at? Yeah, look at that. That's a steep drop from 22 down to 16 in one day. That's a 6-point drop. Probably going to drop again today. I mean, people seem to be getting pretty bearish, and so, to get another fake out to the downside, you gotta ask yourself, these markets, they're going to inflict the maximum amount of pain on the maximum number of people, usually also in the longest time possible. And so, one of the ways you can inflict that pain, and even I felt it, because I said yesterday that I got stopped out of a long position. I lost 16% on a long trade that I took, and stuff like that ends up happening when you get these deviations, right? I mean, people are expecting a very strong move in one particular direction, and then they don't get it, and the market just pulls back, and that's what will screw a lot of traders over, and by the way, it's just part of the game. If you're getting hit on things like this, as long as you're exercising good risk management, you're going to be totally fine. I mean, it's just part of the game. You're going to lose money occasionally, and if you're getting a 16% hit but then you're making 70% on the other side, it doesn't really matter, and so on. And by the way, if you want to jump inside of VIP and see exactly how we have been navigating this market and how we're going to continue to navigate this market in real time right now, then follow these steps on screen and get yourself inside behind that paid wall to see exactly what's been going on. But to see that potential deviation again happening down here would actually make a lot of sense, keeping Bitcoin locked into this range. And one of the things that's going to happen here is that if we do end up getting that deviation and we re-enter this range, that is going to mean that we're then going to be in this range for longer than we are right now. I mean, we've pretty much only been here for about a month. That's roughly how long the previous consolidation range was before we initiated a leg down, and it seems like the 1 month time frame is actually a favorite for the market right now. I mean, this area, I wouldn't really call it consolidation, but the market certainly slowed down, and this kind of circle right here, this area also stretching about 24 days, right? So not quite a month, but getting close. When we know that we're at a market bottom, one of the signs of that is usually that we're trading sideways quite a bit, because when we're trading sideways, what's happening is that you got two groups of people. You got the winners and the losers. One of them is accumulating, thinking they're very smart. One of them is distributing, thinking they're very smart. And only one of those two groups end up being correct. And the reason that that's important is because if we're getting these sideways trading ranges, that's going to give you an opportunity to, if you think Bitcoin is going to go up, buy Bitcoin quietly while the market isn't actually very excited, so that you can average a good entry price, and if you take the midpoint of these two lines, your average entry price is sitting at about 19.6. It's pretty fucking good, ladies and gents. It's a pretty good entry point on Bitcoin, in my opinion. It's actually one of the best ones I can think of, just historically, that you could possibly ever get on Bitcoin, just in terms of how obvious it is of a buy level. The fact that people don't see it as obvious right now, I think it's just poetic. I mean, really, it's absolutely beautiful how that ends up happening in the market. But it's just psychology for you, really. I mean, everyone thinks that things are potentially going to be getting worse. But that's what the accumulators are thinking, and the distributors, they're thinking that actually, we're lucky right now that the market is pausing. But they anticipate the market's going to drop down much lower. So without panicking the market, because they have a lot of Bitcoins that they want to offload, they are going to be selling at an average exit price of 19.6, which funnily enough is also a pretty good exit point in my opinion. It just happens to be a very, very polarizing level, and they're anticipating much, much lower prices of Bitcoins. They just don't want to spook the market. They just want to slowly sell it so that they don't actually impact the market. They don't cause a dump before they need to, because obviously you want to reduce your position before the market crashes, right? So that's what these accumulation and distribution ranges represent. And again, just to see how this ended up moving and what it means. I mean, we're talking about another potential deviation to the upside, and then a big deviation to the downside, followed by that final home run stretch, which in our case, by the way, would potentially only take us up to 30,000. So this isn't even me saying that we're going to be setting brand new time highs. It could just be what we need to rally up to 30K. And who knows, maybe that ends up happening. I mean, according to this chart, I know you can't see the dates, but we got August here, September just below my cursor, just around here, starting now, starting right here, potentially leading us into a, Q3, Q4, kind of bull, probably more like Q3 bull market, at least a mini bull market. But, of course, if the wider economy is just going to, keep staying in the, pretty shitty position that it's in right now, then, it could be that we hit 30, but, we just keep trending lower and then we break below 20. I don't want to speculate that far in the future. I'm just putting all of these ideas on the table for you, because they might be things you haven't considered, and you guys know the deal. My job as an analyst is to analyze all of these things, assign probabilities to decide which probability I think is highest, and then go from being quite objective, quite unbiased, to being very subjective and very biased, because then I put my money behind something. I have to go all in basically on one idea. Obviously not going all in, but I have to commit to just one side. And the only way I can reasonably do that is by analyzing every possible outcome and then looking at what's most probable to happen. That's literally what trading is. If anyone ever tells you different, they are either lying or they're full of shit, and both of those are not acceptable. So please be very careful about who you're learning from. Only try and learn from people that will tell you the raw. It's like the way I said it, trading isn't actually very sexy. It's not very exciting at all. But that's come on, let's be honest. That's how everything works. When you first kind of get into it, you're like, oh shit, this is actually very cool, and then you learn more about it and you realize actually it's all super methodical. There's no rock star life here. It's not what it looks like, where you just open up your fucking phone and you punch in a couple numbers and then you make money. It's not like that. If you want to see what it really looks like, if you want to learn it all from the bottom all the way up to the top, to the very, very advanced things, the top of what I know in my brain, I've dumped it all for you into my 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 Academy course. Dump is actually the wrong word, because it's so well organized. It's a very, very good course, and I'm actually going to be re-recording it, updating it, so that you don't have to deal with a younger version of me. It's not much younger, but it is time to re-record it, and when I do that, you're gonna get it for free. So anyone who already owns that course, including existing and old VIP members, you're gonna get the updated version completely free of charge. You just log in one day, be there, and I'll let you know by emailing you as well. So that's very, very cool. And when I refresh the course, I'm also going to be adding more stuff to it, which is going to, again, be totally free of charge to you. But when we do add more stuff to it, the price will be going up. So get yourself in now during this crypto winter if you want to take advantage of what's going on in this space. And speaking of taking advantage of stuff, Bybit is offering over $4,000 for you guys signing up to my link in the description down below, making your first deposit as well. You can gain up to I think it's like $4,500. It's a lot of money. Completely free of charge that you can get by signing up to Bybit. So if you want to do that, if you want to use the same exchange that I've been using primarily for years, then yeah, check it out using that link in the description down below. But let's move ourselves back to this Wyckoff chart, this very, very interesting Wyckoff chart. I want to talk about the time frames here. This is showing us that we're actually entering this range around the middle of June, and we're coming out, potentially getting that big breakout around the middle of September, which is about 3.5 months. If we take a look at, no, it's about 3 months. If we take a look at what happened previously with that previous Wyckoff accumulation range, you're just gonna keep noticing really, really cool things. Because the last one, if we take a look at the time frame of how long this took to play out from start to finish, bear with me, this was a 60-day pattern. So we're not too far off it, looking at, kind of like a 90-day time horizon. Actually, it was, what am I doing? This is wrong. We enter this around middle of June, and we get to the top around the beginning of September. So this is more like, I'm embarrassing myself by doing math live on a video. I think it's like 75 days, something like that. So we're not that far off from what ended up happening before. The fact that things are potentially getting a little bit more drawn out, to me, makes a lot of sense. I think it's really just quite a natural thing that the market could end up doing. And again, the primary issue with this analysis, in my opinion, is that we're still very early on with this pattern. I mean, this pattern just hasn't really had much time to develop. There's only a few, I don't actually remember what these things stand for, but there's only a few first points on the Wyckoff accumulation chart, and we are only on point 4 pretty much. Well, we're at this deviation, so we're potentially heading to this ST and phase B. I've completely forgotten what it means, but we're pretty early on. I mean, if we were like at this point in the Wyckoff, or at this point, it's so much easier to say that we are actually doing what the Wyckoff accumulation pattern suggests we might. But the fact of the matter is we are so early in it. I mean, we could be following it right now, but anything can derail this. I mean, one fat-fingered buy, one fat-fingered sell, another major crypto going bust. I mean, any of these things could end up, like an exchange getting hacked, whatever. So many things can derail this. It's all very, very delicate. And, to make predictions that stretch weeks or months into the future in crypto is a pretty ridiculous idea, in my opinion. You never really see me doing it because I just don't think you can do it with accuracy. And the problem with it is people talk so much shit about what might happen in the future, but of course, because that future event is so far away, they just never really get held accountable for it. So you never really know they've been lying. They'll just change their prediction as they realize that they're wrong. Which is again why I just don't bother making long-term predictions, because I understand that I have that limitation and I can't see that far into the future with these markets. It's just very, very difficult. But what I can definitely see in terms of a potential psychological perspective on this market is that another deviation between below this low right here and then back in this range is exactly what would make sense for this market right now, in my opinion. And if we confirm this and then we're back in the range, now at this point we will have completed about half of the entire Wyckoff pattern. That's where I can start to say with a lot more confidence that this market is potentially following that same path. So as usual, I'll keep making videos on this kind of stuff, giving you updates on the things that I'm seeing, and always telling you when I've been right about something. You guys know, obviously, I like to brag about that stuff, but also never shying away from telling you when I've been wrong about something. And so, if we do leave this Wyckoff accumulation range, I will again tell you about that and what my thoughts on that are. So again, just double check that you are subscribed and engaging with these videos so that YouTube will notify you about it. Obviously, bell checked as well, so you don't need to worry about that if you've done that already. With that though, I am going to be heading off, so if you have enjoyed this one, do me a favor, smash up the likes, subscribe, tick the bell, jump inside of 𝗪𝗪𝗪's Gold if you want more free analysis from myself and my team around the clock, completely free of charge. And if you want to take things to the next level, gain access to the 𝗪𝗪𝗪's Academy course where I know about trading from A to Z, then you can follow these next 2 steps, just these very simple clicks. There's no downloads, there's no signups. If you're a trader and you're not already on Telegram though, you are shooting your important platform to be on as a trader, at least in my opinion, and most other people in the crypto space would tell you that as well. It's just a great place to get information, and there's not really much censorship on Telegram either, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, there you go. Those are my thoughts. I don't usually get excited by patterns like this, but it's just the fact that the market has used it to reverse and go down and to reverse and go up. You know, and that's what gets me quite excited. I mean, it's the fact that we've done this before, you know, relatively recently, over the past year, basically, you know, that we've been able to use this exact pattern. And so to me, it just makes so much sense that this pattern is still valid in the market. I mean, Bitcoin loves to, you know, develop characteristics and then stick to them throughout its life cycle. You know, I'm sorry, throughout its market cycles. And it might not stick to them forever, but throughout, you know, one, you know, bull and bear, you know, boom and bust cycle, you know, Bitcoin does tend to exhibit many of the same characteristics. 2018, 2019, yeah, that's it. In the 2018, 2019 bull and bear markets that we kind of had, you know, descending triangles, ascending triangles, were very, very important for the market. It seems like Wyckoff patterns are one of the things that are at the forefront right now. So that's something that I'm quite excited to put on your radar. One more time, shout out to 𝗪𝗘𝗙𝗓 for overlaying this on this chart. That's not easy to do. Obviously, he would have gone in and spent a little bit of time on that. Go show him some love. And yeah, thank you all very much for tuning in. You know what to do. One final time, Bybit. If you want to get yourself over $4,000, check out my link in the description down below to sign up to Bybit, and you'll see your steps there to get that cash as well. And these are, of course, the 𝗪𝗪𝗧𝗖𝗓 VIP group. You know what to do. I'll see you all in the next one.